Hi everybody, welcome to Counseling 604. We're talking about groups. Hope it's a great session today. And we're going to be talking about the curative factors and what I look at as one of the most powerful curative factors in a group. You know, one of our texts is Yalom's group psychotherapy, and I'm a big fan of Yalom, and actually saw him in conference and saw him work, and just amazing person. So you know his 12 curative factors. I'm going to go into one, kind of a sub-level of one of those that I think that is really important that he really doesn't go into super depth on. And it's the one called imparting information, which in Yalom's framework has to do with that members of the group would understand things about their psychological issues, and that information is helpful, and it really is, along with everything else, which is the attachment and the cohesion and the trust and all that. What I'd like to add to that is that you want a group to certainly have people feel connected in a place that's safe to talk about themselves, but where the real value above and beyond that is that they understand what their character issues are and identify them so they can know what to work on. For example, that someone know the reason that I get depressed so easily or lose energy has to do with stage one. I get disconnected. I either avoid trusting, or I avoid my feelings, or I just avoid relationship, or I can't even feel because I'm so detached. Now there's really helpful information to bring into a group. Or somebody who says, I'm realizing now that I'm the most codependent person in the world, and I rescue everybody else, and I don't have a self, I don't have a voice, and I'm sort of enabling everybody in the world. Differentiation issues. And that is so helpful, because then the group becomes a place where everybody knows what everybody else is working on, the character issues that cause the misery they're in their lives, in either their personal lives or their relational lives or their career lives, and they can support that. One of the things to realize is when I talk about these different character dynamics within the imparting information of Yalom, most process groups are really good at attachment. I mean, that's so cool when people finally open up and trust, and nobody beats anybody up, and they feel like, gosh, this is a safe place. I've never had this kind of a safe place. Most are okay in differentiation. It's a little more work to have differentiation, because you've got to be able to say, I disagree, or that bothered me that you said that, or we need to talk about this. More of the confrontive elements that I don't feel like you do, and maybe you have to talk kind of in a back and forth dialogue about something. So kind of every group can do attachment if it's any good. And it's a little bit harder to do differentiation. They're pretty much okay with working judgment issues, like, the judge in your head is saying this, well, tell them to say this, or I don't feel that way towards you. I mean, people like that because they feel like some relief from the self-attacks, the self-talk that people do. I think they're pretty good with, finding your talents, and I think you're really good at this, and I think you need to be an architect, or you need to be in business, or you need to be a pastor, or whatever. I think what most groups are the weakest at and have to work the most on and understand it right is on narcissistic and entitlement issues, grandiose self-image, because that can be so shameful and so painful, and people can have deep narcissistic injuries. I mean, think about being in a group where you finally felt safe for the first time, and somebody goes, you sort of talk about yourself a lot. Well, that can go a lot of bad ways in somebody's head. This place isn't safe, I'm being judged again, they don't know who I am, and then they leave the group and bad stuff happens. So you have to tread carefully there, and your professor will help you with this. But I've just found that when you go into those issues, you've got to be super vulnerable and make sure the other stuff is done first. That it's got to be safe, and it's got to be attached, and it's got to be attuned, and the judge has no place. And when somebody says, look, I probably do this too, Susie or Sam, but what my experience is, and you tell me if I ever do it too, is that you sort of make yourself the good guy in the situations and the other people the bad guy. And I know I do that too, but I would like to invite you to kind of like put in your own bad guy stuff. Now, I've had people still walk out of the room when you do that because they're so shame-based or so sensitive to that. But if there's enough attachment behind it, enough differentiation, enough kind of disposing of the bad judge, they can handle it. But that's just kind of what I see from the stuff that groups do readily to the more difficult stuff. As well as be aware that you don't want to impart that information on on your first group. When you first start off a group, what you really care about is that they feel safe and they feel like these are nice people, and I'm terrified. Think about when you went in your first group, when you started here at the Institute, and goodness gracious, you had these process groups, one of those, and some of you guys went, I can't wait to get in there, went to the water, and some people went, oh my gosh, it's going to be unsafe, or is this Martian? So just give them a lot of compassion. It's about connecting and safety, and it'll be okay. But that's kind of what I see, as well as what Yalom talks about as a very, very important element. So have a good class. Hope it's stimulating for you. It sure is for me.